Hi, host Eric here, host of Talking with Famous People, and I'm going to say a sentence I always regret saying, but okay, I think I've got it mostly figured out. I always regret saying that. Then the next day I come back and go, I was totally wrong. Anyway, this is my little diagram I made. Can you see it? Basically, what I'm showing here, I'll put it a little higher. You can see the words, that's good enough. Basically, what I'm showing here is a bunch of random shapes with different colors. Okay, I've used two colors in this example, only two, green and blue, and I've used four different shapes: triangle, circle, square, and squiggly line. Okay, the straight lines are links, connections between things. So here you are down here somewhere. Okay, maybe you're this circle, and this red line is the decision line. So imagine yourself as a little kid, right? Here comes, I'm just right over here. Here comes a triangle down. Pew. It just comes in because you have no choice but to accept, right? It's like you don't even have any ideas about what it is, just a triangle floating at you. Hey, look, a triangle. Oh, this triangle makes me happy, yay. What triangle's coming in? Well, now you have the beginning of a rule. Accept. I know, green triangle? Rad, cool. Green triangle made me say yay. But now it's got a blue circle attached to it. You accept that, and you're like, boo. That's no good. Next time, green triangle, blue square. You still accept it because you're like, yay. This is slightly more powerful than this. It has to be. Right? For the system to work. Anyway, this makes you also say boo. Now, here comes green triangle, blue triangle. What do you say? You say boo, no, reject it. I'm anticipating boo, I reject you. I've already made a rule, green triangle plus any blue thing is bad. And then what this says here, I'll read it after I show it to you. Rule packages, generalization, trade, accuracy, proficiency. Right. So this packaging of, this little making of algorithms that we do, that's a big part of our identity, okay? So that's sort of who we are, is our particular set of algorithms. Now, the fact is, we aren't just accepting in things, right? We aren't just receiving triangles and squares and circles and squiggly lines. We're also putting triangles and squares and circles and squiggly lines. But it's still functionally the same process either direction. If I put out squiggly line, and the thing is, I saw this in my ex-wife, in the time since I quit drinking, okay? So in the 2+ years since I quit drinking, during that time our marriage fell apart and we got divorced. Odd sounding, right? I know, but it makes perfect sense if you know the whole story, but whatever, who cares about that? Well, it'll make perfect sense after this, probably. The thing is, she really couldn't break those algorithms she had built up over the course of the marriage. Those algorithms said, Eric expressing himself is dangerous and bad. He's going to be too edgy. He's going to try to show off by being too contrary. And really, when he's being contrary, that's all he's ever doing anyway, is showing off. And so my job as his wife is to help him to be more socially acceptable, to help him to manage his own poor impulse control in this area, so that he doesn't make an ass of himself in public again, right? That sort of thing. Well, when I wasn't drinking alcohol, it was no longer the same thing. I've used an analogy before that I used to like to juggle water balloons all the time, but I was drunk, so I kept throwing them at people's heads and stuff, like where they'd land on people's heads, and then people get really pissed. So then once I quit drinking and I'd pick up the water balloons to juggle them, she'd freak out. She'd be like, don't juggle water balloons. because I know what you do with those. And I say, no, you listen. That's that's the whole point of quitting drinking is that I can now juggle water balloons. I like to juggle water balloons. I want to be able to do so. Now I can. And the risks you're pointing to, those are things that you attribute to the fact that there are harms of drinking. They're not harms of juggling water balloons, right? All right. So obviously, I don't really like to juggle water balloons. Seems like a silly waste of time to me. But the point is, I do like to express myself. And one of the things that happened right after my marriage is that my wife, again and again, tried to shut. She hated the fact that I made YouTube videos. She hated the fact that I posted stuff on Facebook. And I don't post stuff on Facebook anymore. Now that I have this outlet, I really don't. And it's so much better to not have to impose on friends and family my rants and opinions and stuff. I certainly don't want to. And I also say that being able to express myself in a public forum where I think people are going to view it causes me to be more reflective and more reasonable in general. Just because it's like, oh, wait a second. It's possible people are taking me seriously, and so I should probably take myself seriously. But, I'd never tried that before, I guess. I'd always tried to be the contrarian, just, I don't know, whatever. I'm getting off topic. What are we talking about here? Free will? Yeah, it's not a free will there, right? That's not free will. I'm not deciding to go off on a tangent. It's associative. The process is. Anyhow, my wife had built up algorithms that said anything blue coming into my way, that's rejection time, because I've had too many boos associated with that, right? I've had too many boos associated with juggling water balloons. So, hell no, you're not getting in, idea, whatever it is. Hell no, Eric, you're not going to post it on YouTube without me giving you a lot of pushback. Hell no, Eric, you're not going to put stuff on Facebook without me telling you to take it down and trying to censor you and manage what you say and stuff. Well, it's because it's not her fault, right? For years, I had traded basically my soul for alcohol or for alcohol, basically. I mean, I was like, well, I am kind of volatile. She probably does know best. I'm a worthless drunk, so maybe she's listening to her. And even if I don't agree with her, I don't want to get into any sort of conflict, because at the end of that line of reasoning, at the end of that argument, she always, always wins. She wins every single time. Why does she win every single time, Eric? Because you are a drunk. And there's simply no defeating that argument. You lose every time. So you want to try to avoid every conflict because they always end the same way. You start arguing about what she's done or what she's saying or anything like that, and it walks straight down the line to, well, Eric, you're a drunk. She wouldn't necessarily say those words exactly. She'd just talk about my drinking a lot, and understandably so. I was a drunk. I'd say those words to myself all the time. I'd say I was a worthless drunk. It was sort of standard operating procedure around the house. I'd wake up every morning and go, shame and anxiety, shame and anxiety, shame and anxiety, shame, over and over again. I'd shame myself. I'd go through a shaming ritual. I would. Didn't do any good. Didn't help. That was not what made me quit drinking. Anyway, enough about that. So that's a free will issue though, right? And for me, is that free will? Well, there's a time when you have to exercise some discipline. Is discipline sign of more free will than non-discipline? I don't know. Obviously, it's easier to choose to do that which you want to choose, right? But this, I think, represents what's wrong with the free will question. 99% of the time, we are not making choices we're not making choices at all. The algorithm's already in place. The only way it becomes a choice is if we metacognate about it, and then it becomes a choice. Because then we're thinking, okay, next time I go buy a lighter, I'm going to think about which lighter I want. I'm going to make a decision of some sort. But even then, it's only a choice in a technical sense. in reality, the real choices we have in life are fairly few and far between. They're pivotal moments, but I do think they do exist. And the choices we make there then define the algorithms going forward for a long set of time. Having said that, again, if you metacognate well, if you metacognate enough, but this may simply be a quality of nature. I don't know if it's something you can actively choose to do or not. If you're thinking about the fact that, okay, now I have a model in place by which I can understand my own decision-making process. Am I implementing an algorithm that I built in childhood to deal with decisions like this? The problems arise when you're executing algorithms about relationships or systems or things like that, not about when you're executing algorithms about buying a lighter, right? That doesn't make any difference. But what does make a difference is if you're executing an algorithm about like how to pursue this certain woman or something. Which reminds me, I put it on a comment, but I put it on this video right here too. Reef. I'm making that chick problems video. It's quite a bit of a production, I gotta tell you. First of all, it's like 30 minutes, the first half of it, and I don't know what I'm gonna do as far as length, but I got a lot of little slides and shit I'm gonna put in there. So hopefully, I don't know. I guess I'll just play around with length a little bit and put up a longer form video here pretty soon on this subject. That's and see how that does. I guess I don't know. I wouldn't imagine anybody would want to start watching 45-minute long video. But it's possible that if it were compelling enough, people might continue to watch it all the way through to the end, I suppose. Okay, so regarding the free will thing, I think this is a perfect example of how free will is largely such a mishmash of different things, different algorithms coming into play that you have built before. So when I say like you are your algorithms, you are your habits of response. What your core algorithm is developed early on, or maybe you're born with it, the primary cognitive function, your default cognitive function. My core algorithm is default. I'm going to be, this red line for me, what's not shown here is how it impacts how I see things on the other side, right? It's not just a red line, it's a piece of glass, but it's a kind of piece of glass that if you look at it from this direction, it has things on the other side look like blah. If you're looking at it from this direction, things like that looks like blah. So when I'm metacognating, I am looking at it from this direction. Okay, and I see what's inside, and I go, oh, that's what I'm doing decision-making wise. But what I'm failing to account for is the default function does two things. It does that. It does the stuff that I can see from here. It does that, yes. It's one of the four tools we can employ, one of the four perspectives we can exercise existence under. But what it doesn't do, metacognating, is it doesn't explain to me what this looks like from back here, because nothing can fundamentally leave back here. Metacognition is a process of removing oneself through some time magic to position oneself out here to look in here for the purpose of thinking about it. But fundamentally, you can never actually get out here, and you can't tell what out here looks like through anything other than this red line. Okay, so what out there looks like to me is someplace where I go disrupt. And that means, what am I thinking about at any given moment? Well, earlier I was thinking in the car about the fellow who, I think it was Reef again, who put this stuff about his boss and everything and being mad and fighting well but unwisely perhaps in terms of strategy. So that's what I was thinking about, and then of course I started going into my little things in my head about, fuck them, and if I were in that position, I'd blah, 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 blah. Why am I thinking about that stuff? Because that's who I am. That's what I think about. I have daydreams about giving impassioned speeches in which I, lay into people for being in support of unjust restrictions on individuality. Those are my daydreams. I pretend I'm giving impassioned speeches about injustice that restricts individual autonomy. I mean, that is as clear a manifestation of the disrupt function as possible. Because what is that which is being disrupted is standardization, systemization, de-individuation. But I am passionately in favor of my perspective. My red line's right. God damn it, the way things look through my red line is correct. But actually it is. You know why? Because of negative rights models. The only thing that protects everybody's rights and is fair and makes logical sense, and it happens to land on the side of exactly where ENTP politics probably almost always are, which is pro-individual, pro-autonomy, pro-choice. Not pro-choice for abortion necessarily. I mean pro-choosing, individuals getting more choice, not less. And, shit like that. Anyway, this is already 16 minutes. I hope these are good, these ones that are on the longer side. I just can't, I feel like I can't cover the subject without going on for a little while. So, I don't know, I guess I'll see what the stats say and I'll find out that way. Thank you for watching. If you watched all the way to the end, fantastic. If you didn't, goodbye, and I hope you got something out of it. And there's cottage cheese. Oh, you already passed that already. There was cottage cheese. You could have helped yourself to some on your way out, but you're already gone. For those of you who are still here, please help yourselves to the cottage cheese. It's delicious.